films that include documentaries and shorts as well. Um, he's a Padma Shri Award winning of 2016, particularly his two films, I Am Kalam, that was released in 2011. It won more than 30 international awards. And his another movie, Kadwa Sach, Kadvi Hawa. Kadvi Hawa is primarily about, issues on climate change, how the issue of climate change had impacted rural India. And it's beautifully portrayed through the struggle of a farmer. And I Am Kalam is a story based on the theme of education, how this young guy who is disadvantaged, underprivileged, he fights for his passion to study and come forward in life. So Neil is very much known as someone who really is engrossed in social issues. He works on a lot of documentaries that's related to climate change, education, water, sanitation, and development issues. At a time when the lot of cinemas are made that's targeted particularly to generate income, his passion for the kind of films that he made is really stands tall. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a big round of applause for what he's doing in life, the kind of contribution that he's making. I would like to welcome you, Neil. So I want to get started with, you know, uh, all right. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. So can you please take us through, your early life? How did you reach to the level when you decide that, okay, this is my passion? You all started directing movies. How did you reach there?
Namaskar. Thank you for having me here. I think that's quite a long journey. What are you saying? It's 20 years of storytelling. Well, it's a very simple thing. I think for all of us, be it India or neighboring country, you grow up with storytelling. From chacha chachi villages. I grew up in a very humble village. when you reach to James Bond's producer, New York, then the world is your home. And from then, I made about 7 Hindi feature films, and most of them got awards and accolades. And recently, I released a show on Sony called The Jangaburu Cars. It's claimed to be the first cli-fi in India.
So, my question is, it's always very difficult when you start from that scratch and with that background, that too without a lot of support in a kind of industry that you are. What are the essential ingredients that one need to have to reach and do the kind of things that you're doing?
Well, I think actors, I'm the storyteller and nobody's here because the actor has gone out. Without actors, you can't tell stories. No kidding. Yeah, no, the ingredient, the first thing in storytelling is you have to believe in a story. That's about it. And the form can be anything, whether you make a documentary, short film, feature, fiction, drama, anything. It is the belief in story that's the only thing which can make you a good storyteller. Because I've been an independent filmmaker. I never waited a star to fall. I never waited money to come. I never waited a studio to come. And I was not even in Bombay, I was in Delhi, and I made 7 Hindi feature film, and all of them I released in theater. They're in different platforms like Amazon, Netflix, everywhere. So I think it is simply, you know, being an artist, being a storyteller. So one of the thing I always say that it's a lonely journey. Okay. And when you become a director, you realize you're like a bride's father in during wedding, that you're responsible for everything from your daughter to the groom's party to the villagers to food to everything. So why it becomes a tougher journey being a film director as compared to any other artist is because you also 60% is management. It is managing emotions of your own crew. There are 200 people shooting, the action directors, dancer, actor. So, and in all of these, you're alone. So being a captain of the ship, being a director, it's quite a lonely journey. So it's not a easy. So which is why you as a director need to have a lot of guts to say what you want to say. And when you want to say, you have to be there to say. So I'll tell you a very small
Sure.
incident. In my last show, it was a very difficult show. We shot in deep forest, and there was a kind of cinematography I wanted, and I selected after 2 3 months. I selected a Cuban Steadicam operator who came all the way from Cuba, and I'm just in 2 days I have to finish the action because the action director has to leave, the actress has to leave, and while I'm shooting a chasing sequence, the Steadicam operator broke his leg. Now I can't compromise the shot. I can't come back to shoot to this forest. Means almost triple the budget the studio has to spend. You have to be creative and have a sort of a managerial capacity to understand how you pull up the scene. And then I had to find a way to pull it up. So we had to take him to hospital. I had to sit down with the DOP to find a new ways to tell the same story. You can't change the story, but the same story how you craft it. So I think which is why it's not a when you shoot films and depend on so many sort of departments, it's not easy to pull it up.
And how do you choose your topic or define the theme for the movie?
Sorry.
How do you choose your topic for any movie?
Well, most of my stories are mine. I don't bring stories from outside. I've never worked with other screenplay or stories. I mean, most all my stories are my own stories, and I do things which largely, if you see, especially last 10 years, what affects me most, I start that story. So if something I feel that this is a story which I want to say for example, I did a water trilogy. So water trilogy started way back in 2005. And my first documentary, which was on climate change, is called Climate's First Orphan. And that came with a very small incident when I saw a lonely hand pump on a newspaper front page. And I said, I want to tell this story. So the story comes like that.
and how difficult it is to continue as an independent filmmaker, as a director in today's context in India, particularly.
Well, independent filmmaking is always a struggle all over the world, because filmmaking is a commercial business. There's nothing called free in filmmaking because you spend a lot of money. There are a lot of people who work. And I don't disagree with studios when they want to make money because it is a very expensive business. So the struggle of independent filmmaking will continue, but now I would say because of the whole digital technology and platforms, it becomes easier. But then, if you're sold to a studio also, the independency of storytelling still is a struggle because what you want to say, what studio want to sell. So there is a gap in between. But as a storyteller, we get strict to, for example, in my last show, uh, or thriller which is based on hill, forest, and river. Okay, to say in a very poetic way that this is the story I want to say. And I won't name, but one of the big studios said that this guy is an art house filmmaker. We're going to spend 40, 50 crore on this burger. So I said, thank you. When I heard that, when they called second time also, okay, namaste. मुझे नहीं करना इनके साथ. Because if they don't understand, so the next studio I went, they said, okay, we allow this space, da 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 da. Da. Of course, they spend money and they need to understand how many audience will see whether it will work or not. Why would they spend even 5 crore on you? But they said certain things, yet I had the freedom as an artist to tell the story I want to say. So I really admire how they supported me to finish Jenga Burukas.
Right. So one of the most acclaimed movies that you have done is that we have heard is I Am Kalam. Would like to know a bit about it. How did you choose that? Why did you choose that? What was there any incident that you went through to finalize on that issue?
Well, I think I'm Kalam. Why also it becomes a trendsetter, and in Netflix during COVID it was a trending film also. Why many people related to that is because the story was in each of us. It was not just about education. It was what a child wants and how we treat a child. We don't treat child as a person, we treat like child, but there is a lot this child has to speak, and the film represents what he wants to speak, what he want to say. The film gives a form of the voice of Chotu in I Am Kalam, and it came in a very small incident. I was doing this child level film, Stolen Childhood, and I was traveling in a train from Kolkata to Bhubaneswar, and suddenly police came, and they were checking, this child labors to take them out. Yeah, he was a child labor, rack pickers in the train, and he sought himself into a toilet. And while he's going, I could see him and I chased him. It was locked and I knocked him. I said, oh, मैं बोला दरवाजा खोलो, बोला पुलिस है नहीं खोलूंगा, विंडो से कूद कूद जाऊंगा ये वो, and he gave me धमकी. And I said, no no, don't worry, पुलिस चला गया, मैं हूँ, मेरे को टॉयलेट जाना है, बाहर आ जा. Then we entered. I saw the police was outside and I stayed with him about 15 minutes. And it is that I, and speaking of that child, what he says that got stuck with me for good 7 years, 8 years. And I said, one day I have to tell his story.
His story.
His story. This is his story. It was just about his dreams. A child who's a rag picker doesn't know where his parents are. And he had a dream to become a Bollywood star. There are many kids. And the conviction he had in his eyes, what he said, it it's something you can't believe unless you with him, which is why it took me so long to transform that into a screenplay. I mean, if you see I Am Kalam, it is a very dark story about a child who is not getting food to become a child labor in a dhaba.
True. Yeah.
So I made it a very entertaining film, and which is what my whole idea was, that look at what these children are speaking, you got to have your ear.
Right.
And that was the film.
Right. And was it the same case with the Kadvi Hawa, or did you encounter any farmers, or it was in the back of your mind that the climate change is having a severe implications in rural India?
Yeah, I, I had a, in fact, I had a very different story in Kadvi Hawa, which was on extreme weather conditions. But the whole farmer suicide part I brought because when I went to Bundelkhand, and one of the village I enter, and we were talking about why it is happening and all that, and nobody was answering. There was some crying happening in one of the house, and we got a child. I said, "क्या हुआ?" बोला मेरे चाचा मर गया. बोला कैसे, क्या मर गया? रस्सी लगा दिया, उड़ गया. ऐसे क्यों?
Farmer.
हाँ, वो farmer, his uncle. He said, यार तू फिर भी हंस रहा है और तू ऐसे क्यों है? हाँ, परसों ये मरा था, तरसों ये मरा था, पिछले महीने 5 जने ऐसे दे दिए थे. I was like, death is like, is it events, festivals? You wonder what's that weightage, what's the value of human being, and which is how I brought a story. If you see the hero is a old man who's blind and poor, is the hero of that film. What does he gaze to save his son from committing suicide? Is the story. And you would wonder the love, the connections of those people who wants to save. The child doesn't know. For him, it's another event. The person who gave birth, who want to see the family to grow, is into a dark future.
So we have a very few of the directors like you are. I mean, and very few movies are being made on the kind of themes that you are making. Why is it so? I mean, it's just because people are more attracted to the economic incentive part of the movie, or is it there's not too much of sensitivity that's required to make the kind of movies that you are making?
Well, I don't think I would have come without thinking even economic incentives, because I come from a family where for my last sister's wedding, we had to almost come in to sell the house in the village. So I would think more about economy. It is not about that. I wonder at times why also I get this question often, even when I released the last show, there were a lot of such questions came. You wonder, when how interesting the world is when a underworld don comes and do blasting in Bombay. There are 10 filmmakers comes with stories suddenly. If a terrorist attack happen in Kashmir, there are 20 films on that. So every day in and out, you read what happened to Kulu Manali, what happened. Every day you see disaster, but it doesn't affect you. You never make a story out of it. I've been questioned for last 1 month with every TV channel, radio, everywhere, that why people are not making films. I said, if people have become so insensitive, I can't help. I think as an artist, it's also your responsibility to tell the story, what's happening around you.
Yeah. So it's kind of very strange situation we are living in right now. I mean, everything looks connected and yet so disconnected, as you rightly put. We are attracted to some of the events that should not have pulled our attention, and we are least attracted. Will this scenario, will this context affect us as a storyteller, or as a person who makes cinema in future? And do you think that even in future cinema would have the same strong um, influencing capacity as it has been in the past for so many years?
No, I think audience is getting smarter with platforms coming in post COVID. With all the platforms coming in, audience is exposed to, brilliant content from all over the world. Okay, and if you see the content, even smaller countries like Israel, Iran, Turkey, they're doing fantastic content, and that's somewhere we lag. It's also, I believe there's a massive effect which has happened due to our over drama, high entertainment TV that has influenced films as well as OTT. And nevertheless, I think audience is changing. Audience is, now there's a whole new audience accepting different content, and so the creators are, and the new platforms are giving that opportunity to tell those stories. If you see a story like Kohra in Netflix, which is purely about human emotions, It's a slow burn, but yes, audiences accepted it. So I think it's changing. The dimension of entertainment in India is changing. Yeah, except the fact that I feel as creators we need to be more sensitive towards what's happening to our world. It's beyond terrorism. It's beyond underworld done. I think we need to grow up from that.
So because of all this OTT and digitization, you see um, the changes in the film industry in India, and we do see that we would continue to see that mega blasters that we used to see in the past, or we are having a different kind of changes rapidly in Indian cinema.
No, I think we should not see cinema as big plus or not. You see, I give example my own film. I am Kalam released in 60 country. My ratio of income in terms of commercial benefit is 300%. Look at Lunchbox. It went worldwide. So I think we cannot just say the blockbusters are not just about Shah Rukh or Salman Khan. See, look at Malayalam film. So India that way has a great connection to entertainment world is because the Indian cinema consists of so many languages. We talk about Bollywood only, but go to Kerala, go to Karnataka, go to Tamil Nadu. Each of them is a big industry. Probably Tamil Nadu box office and industry is much bigger than Bollywood. So I think because of this language and because of this diversity, and because the kind of films we all do in different states, I think that's quite a growing digital economy in India.
So what is the new project that you planning to work on?
I'm working on a book by a very famous author, as well as there's something which I've been developing for a long time, for 3 years, which is on quantum computing.
Oh wow, that should be interesting on quantum computing, right? Any plans of Nepal is equally opening up itself in terms of cinema, and perhaps people like you who's sensitive enough could think of having work together with the counterparts here as well. Have you thought anything about on those lines?
No, absolutely. I'll tell you an interesting thing. I'm co-producing a Sri Lankan film, which my final deal is happening. I'm co-producing a Sri Lankan film, and that same filmmaker has co-produced a Nepali film called Red Suitcase, which is in Venice this year. It is a Nepal and Sri Lanka co-production. So I think there's a whole new generation which is growing with great storytelling. I'm happy to come and do something here always.
You should come here quite often, Neil. Thank you so much for your time, ladies and gentlemen. A
Thank
big
you.
round of applause for Neil Madhab Panda. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.